and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis O'Brien, and we got great information and a wonderful guest for you this evening, don't we, Dennis?
Yeah, I think, our guest tonight is Ray Axelrod from the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum. I have my shirt on.
All right,
I have my
Dennis.
shirt on.
Yeah, very, very good.
I dug through my drawer. Actually, it was near the top because I wear this thing a lot. It's a nice shirt. Mm-hmm. I wear it to the gym. I work out with it. One. Yeah, he wants you to buy another one because
I need to buy one.
Wait, you need to buy one. Anyway, Ray Axelrod. I used to think years ago that our most frequent guest on Let's Talk About It, all these years we were doing it for a long time, it was Joe Courtney. And I think Ray Axelrod may be catching up.
He very well could.
He's an annual player on this show.
Yes, he is.
He never misses a year. And, we're glad to have him back. We have a long history with Ray. And, if you don't, this show this week is going to be the best Ray Axelrod show of the year. But if you want to hear more of Ray Axelrod talking about the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum, you can tune in to Wayne Norman next week at 7:40, next Thursday. That would be the 27th?
Something like that.
27th or 28th. What's today?
Today's the 22nd.
Okay, so it would be the 28th.
Bring that closer.
It would be the 28th of August. Ray Axelrod would appear, but only from 7:40 to 8 a.m.
Yeah, here I get more time.
That's right. Here he gets more time.
So we can go into some of the history of the Railroad Museum, which I want to just talk about for a minute, Dennis, because one of the things that I'm very proud of is when the Railroad Museum first came to the council, I was on the council, and I made the motion to give them a little bit of starting money, and they said, we're going to have all volunteers doing this, and some people on the council says, who's going to volunteer, to do all that work? And then, lo and behold, they had numerous volunteers, and they've done an amazing job at the museum. And we are so proud to have that Eastern Connecticut Railroad Museum right here in our town, Willimantic.
Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum.
Oh, excuse me,
Ray has corrected me many times. I have a question for you, Ray.
Okay.
I know it's on the shirt. That's why I looked at it today, and I got it down pretty good now.
See, I don't have a shirt.
Ray has squared me away. But anyway, why is it called, because I think it's out of order, Eastern Connecticut Railroad Museum sounds more accurate. Eastern Connecticut Railroad Museum. That's why I kept getting it wrong for years. And then Ray straightened me out and finally said, look, it's the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum. Read your shirt, man. And I've had this shirt for maybe 7-8 years.
All right.
Why, I don't exactly remember. But
you don't know?
No.
Right. I thought you were the answer man. All right.
Because it comes out, railroad reporting marks are 4 letters. I don't know. I would say we could have done it with Eastern Connecticut, but there may have been conflict with something. I don't remember as far as naming.
I'll bet that's it. I'll bet somebody
because there was never an Eastern Connecticut Railroad.
Right.
As such.
Yeah.
There was Central New England. There's other related names, but
maybe there are other railroads with that kind of order in their name that start out with the name of the state or the region, and then they get you go from the state to the part of the state.
Yeah. There are names like that, but why I can't remember why our particular name.
Of course, the Eastern on the shirt, the Eastern in the name might refer to the Eastern United States, not just Eastern Connecticut. Not sure.
Yeah, but it only refers to.
Eastern. I think it's going to continue to be a mystery.
Yeah, unless I don't know, come down and ask Mark or somebody. Somebody might remember some little anecdote.
Who's Mark? Tell everybody who Mark is.
Mark Granville is past president.
He's been on the show before.
He's been on the show with Whitewater. He's involved in that as well.
Right.
Yeah, Mark's involved in everything.
Yes. He's still around.
He's retired. Oh yeah.
He has not stopped volunteering.
No.
Great, because he's a big asset to the museum, as are you.
Yeah, Mark has done a lot of work. Well, all the guys have done a lot of work through the years. I mean, it is amazing because everything we've done down there is as a volunteer organization. Of course, like other places, we've lost membership, we've lost number of volunteers. We do get a lot of help each year through Eastern's work program.
Well, that's great.
They come help clean up in the spring. They'll be there on Railroad Day. They help wrap up in the fall, raking a lot of leaves, sorting, cleaning. There's a lot of work that goes into just maintaining things from year to year.
Absolutely.
And they have been very crucial in making a lot of old guys and a few old women happier, because it's like, oh, look at the energy they have.
Yeah, well, the other thing is as well, I've been volunteering in various situations, Little League, for decades, and it's not as easy for me to do it now because I'm an octogenarian. And
no, you're not. Just do it the other way. I once worked for someone. If he's listening, he'll know who it is. And he would add his parents' name, birthday. He said, "Well, Mom's not that old if you add it from side to side."
All
there
right.
you go. He's 8.
All right,
He's 8 years old.
No, she was 18.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
99.
She's 81.
Okay.
At the time.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's a good way to stay young.
I'm 28.
Cool.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. I feel 28.
How do you get that reverse aging? I like that.
I feel good. I feel good today. I don't feel good enough to continue to coach Little League with my arthritic knees, but I do. I'll tell you what. Every time I go to the museum, and I go there a lot, because it's great.
You're one of the.
No,
I was gonna.
I'm not a regular, but
I'm displays.
I'm a frequent flyer. But look, I got my shirt here. I bought the shirt on one of my trips in, and it wasn't just yesterday.
Yeah.
It wasn't last year. It wasn't the year before.
It's like 8-9 years ago.
It was. It's a great shirt. It's a blue shirt, and I wear it to the gym. And I like to advertise some of the more important elements of our town. And the Railroad Museum is one of the most.
Do you want to
important.
brag about Connecticut in the meantime? As long as you were bringing up Little League, do you want to brag about that team?
No, it's not my team. It's not the Willimantic team.
Oh,
I'm happy for them, but I'm not.
okay.
I wish it was us.
Well,
I'm provincial. I'm local.
I'm
a local guy.
Cool. Even
like
better.
That. Well, I just want to say, you always have so many good things going on at the museum. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you plan to do, and let's just talk about the time frames that we'll be talking about when you're having your wonderful events at the Railroad Museum. And start off maybe with exactly how people can get to the museum, because sometimes we might have new people listening, and we want to make sure that they know how they can get there.
We're down off of Bridge Street in the center of Willimantic. And you come down, as soon as you go over the tracks, coming down from Main Street, if your right tire leaves the rail, take a right turn in on the dirt. Well, used to be a dirt road. Now it's lovely and paved.
Wow.
For part of the way.
We've made a lot of progress here, haven't we?
And you're coming up all the way to between, basically, where Burger King is and the river, but you have to come up between the rails and the river. That's how you access the museum. Do not trust your directions. Your little direction thing will direct you in the cemetery, and you can drive round and round in circles in the Willimantic Cemetery.
Won't be able to get you there.
Now, Railroad Day this year is what?
It's August 30th from 3 to 4, from 11 to 3.
It's always a Saturday.
It's always the Saturday before Labor Day.
Right.
We cheated, so that way we can use the signs again.
And Labor Day is early this year.
Yeah, Labor Day is first, so it's that weekend. So, yeah, it's right up on us.
August 30th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the museum off of Bridge Street.
Yep. We're gonna have train rides, the Garden Railroad, tours for the museum, working demonstrations of some of the equipment and some work. And also we'll have food. I know Cupcake for Later is going to be there. I do not know for sure who the food truck is going to be. We'll have pump car rides. We've also got the play train that the kids can crawl through, and we've got one of those bring your family together and take a photo thing and look like old Railroadiana, like the Western cowboy scene type thing.
I love those rides. Did you love those rides?
I've done the pump car. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like that. I like
Self-powered.
I've done it a few times.
get going too fast. And
I think the kids like it too.
Didn't get going fast
I think
enough.
a lot of little children love to take those rail rides, don't you think?
oh yeah, yeah.
So you
And
have-
Art
Yeah.
Art Hall has been kind of the commander of that ride for probably about 23 years,
Wow.
maybe more. But
Very good.
we won't tell about them more.
And you said you have music this time?
Yeah, but we don't know who.
All right, so you're still working on that.
Well, I know they've
Yeah,
had music in the past.
yeah,
I know Duke
I'm
York
not-
has played
I'm-
there.
Yeah,
And Duke
but,
York is also
a very
active
hard-working members and
Right.
a vice president. But I do not. We don't know about music. That's I checked in with Mark today, and that's as far as we got.
I see. Well,
Okay, well, maybe by the time you appear 6 days from now on the Wayne Norman Show, you'll have
Might
that
have
nailed
more,
down.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know Wayne will be listening to the tape of this show, the rerun of this show, so he'll be well
Oh,
prepared.
so he'll be quizzing me.
He will.
always
He
does.
will.
He always
He'll
does.
probably be quizzing me too, and Susan. But anyway, one thing that always impresses me, and I mention this every year, is when I go through the grounds and go in and look at some of the equipment, is the heaviness, the strength, the power of the equipment. It is heavy. It's steel, and the fact that it just as I got older, it awed me because I said, "Wow, I can't imagine even helping to lift something like that. It's just so heavy. It looks so heavy and imposing, and it's big."
We have ways of cheating. It's called hydraulic jack.
Yes.
And things like that.
Well,
There
that's
you
not
And-
cheating.
And
that's
you
making-
you bring in back if you really need to move something or lift something. You use backhoe, or we've actually got a lift truck, with a little crane on it. But I'm not sure the exact condition of that right now because I haven't seen that thing run in about 3 years. But I think it does. I just don't know for sure. And for rail work, we have the tamper, which does can actually pad in the ballast around the ties and stuff. That can help. But we still do tie replacement the old-fashioned hard way. Unlike New England Central or Providence and Worcester, where they do it they got all that little fancy machinery.
Yeah, well, it's hard for us to get all that fancy machinery, but on the other hand, you do have a lot of different things that people demonstrate there about the history of the railroad museums, about the history of railroads in this country and in Connecticut. You want to tell us a little bit about maybe some of the people who will be handing out information about railroads?
Well, let's see. Art Hall is doing, we'll be doing the pump cars, so that's a demonstration of how they used to bring the crews down to a work site and things like that. And now, of course, the guys at New England Central just cheat. They back the pickup onto the rail, they drop the rail wheels with a button, and they go. Mm-hmm. But the old way would be the pump car.
But you're a history museum, so you're...
Yeah, we would do it if we had access to the power tools. The more power tools, the happier.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
I mean, we're not afraid. If Susan can get us $1 million grant for rail, we wouldn't be ashamed of using some equipment on a rental basis.
Uh-oh.
Like the Naugatuck Railroad, they actually have some freight and they're longer, so that they're both freight and the passenger, and. But all the museums in Connecticut do a lot of work. And if you consider there's 4 railroad museums, there's 2 trolley museums that are directly running a train or doing something with the equipment and restoration. And it's tough. Just to give you one example, one of our cabooses, CV caboose, you mentioned Duke York.
Right.
Duke got lost. Well, Bev says she knew where Duke was. She didn't lose track of him. She knew exactly where he was when he worked over 2,000 hours just on the CV caboose.
Wow.
Wow. That's
just
wonderful.
on restoration. Mm-hmm. Because that was all tug and groove wood, and there was some welding on that just to get back to sound metal and do the stairs and things like that on that car. And there's so many pieces we've worked on, and a lot of it is just having the roundhouse. The reason we have the little steam small locomotive we have is because we would provide indoor housing for it. it's a long way from being restored or runnable, but it's staying in much better condition than it was when it was up at the Shelburne Trolley Museum in Massachusetts, because it was outside.
Yeah.
We got it because we could keep it inside.
In the roundhouse.
And there's a number of other pieces of equipment that we have that we try to keep inside, and that weather protection means a lot. The CV boxcar we have that was down here in the yard for years as the Central Vermont tool car, when Central Vermont sold to Railtex and New England Central, we got the car. We replaced a lot of the wood at the time, but that was in the early 1995, 96. And if you look at it now, that car was out for many years and went through weathering again because it's wood siding on a metal braced car. So now that's stored inside because it's the hope that we'll get money to restore it again. But, all these things need work, as do our buildings. We had to rebuild the doors because the original design of the doors didn't allow for them to shed water properly, so they got kind of soaked in. So we replaced the doors on the roundhouse twice.
Wow.
And
I'm very impressed with the roundhouse. The work that was done there is amazing, and of course it wasn't in that condition when you first took over. You want to tell us a little bit about how that occurred?
When state archaeologist Nick Melantonio was state archaeologist, and his team went through the work bays, stalls, and they picked out old tools and just tried to save anything that was historically significant before we started restoration. We had to restore the foundation stones because some of the brownstone for the foundation stones were missing, so we remade them out of, they're actually cement, but made to look like. And actually that sits on a fill there because it's the junction between the airline and the Hop River line, or line to Hartford, and that's pretty deep. So there's actually a pyramid foundation underneath that roundhouse that goes 9 to 10 layers deep.
Wow, that's amazing that you were able to do those types of restorations.
Well, I mean, the top stones is what was missing.
Right.
It's
sure.
just the the under the brick pieces. What was below ground, people didn't know about. They didn't try to steal. But
was that roundhouse original to the property?
Yeah, there was a roundhouse here under the footbridge, about between Agway and where they made the access for the recent bridge work on the P&W Bridge.
Yep.
That was New York and New England's roundhouse. But with the New Haven, they built that roundhouse originally 1898 and 1928 or 32. The New Haven raised the roundhouse, as in taking down, because they weren't using the building, so they no longer wanted it to carry it on their insurance, etc. So into itself it went. And then we got a grant through the State Department of Economic Development. We had to show how we would use the money, what fundraising we would do, and we also had to come up with a 20 or 25% match of labor and in-kind monies or labor and effort to show what we needed. So there was a grant to build the roundhouse, but the grant basically paid for the foundation being righted, the drawings, and the inner walls and the roof. We had to we took a loan from Liberty Bank to do the brickwork. Because we figured, we already have the mason here. If you try to not do the brickwork, the outside brickwork now, you're wasting money because of the forms and everything were already up. So it cost us like $63,000 to do the brickwork at the time. If we brought somebody back 4 or 5 years later, it would have cost about $120,000, $140,000 to set things up, to get going again.
Right.
Just in constant dollars.
Right.
So we took a loan, and then what actually happened with that loan, talking about volunteer effort, was some anonymously and some in donations. People took kind of bonds from the museum and cashed out the loan so we wouldn't be wasting money on interest. Mm-hmm. And eventually some got paid back, some gave this as later gifts. Mm-hmm. You know, so it took a lot of thought and planning, and then just how do you handle the debt, or do you keep working around the debt? In this case, we didn't kick it down the road, so
bravo,
yay us.
Yes, absolutely, good
Anytime
work.
you can do that, it's great.
Oh, it's absolutely fabulous. You can do that, especially as all volunteer, and looking to obtain grants and preserve the information about our railroad systems. And hopefully, I always have a hope that we'll be able to inspire people to start working on making new railroad systems.
Well, keep hoping.
I don't know if you, in terms of people that do museum work for railroads, have they organized an idea to try and figure out how to do more mass transit for, say, people in Connecticut?
Well, I mean, you're doing some of that with the state of Connecticut has done the Connecticut line, the line to Springfield. And Massachusetts MBTA owns the line from Springfield to Greenfield, mm-hmm. and they are doing the Valley Flyer with Amtrak from Springfield north to Greenfield. So there's actually like 4 trains a day, 2 in each direction beyond the Vermonter, mm-hmm. north of Springfield. And then there's all the additional commuter service in Connecticut, and you've already seen growth in but Newington, Berlin, Wallingford, Meriden all have brand new apartment complexes right downtown so people can walk to the train to go to work.
We love that, and that's part of the housing bill that we have. Not to digress, but
but our
it's
all part of the story.
5002 is to have housing built around all the railroad mass transit places in the state of Connecticut, so that people will be able to move from their house to a job and back. And having rail is a excellent way to be able to move people in such a densely populated little state that it's great. And I want to also add one more thing about the New Haven Railroad, which has been something I've been working with State Representative Stephen Winter on, and they have actually created a geothermal networking at the New Haven Railroad Station, so that now they are going to be completely energized with geothermal.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's very exciting. They got a federal grant. Almost lost it due to Trump taking it back, but then Trump gave it back to them. So it's very
interesting. I'm sure the guys who worked at steam plant at some of the stations and railroad yards would be glad to hear that one.
Yeah, no, I think it's another way for us to.
That's a big building with a lot of airspace.
Yes, it is.
3-4 stories high or more.
Yep.
Just open beauty.
Exactly.
So,
it's thrilling to be able to do that.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to do more housing around our rail stations, and that this bill that we had for housing will come back, and I'll be pushing for it shortly because I think that we're going to be able to have a special session. But having housing near places where people can take rail is a really important thing for our economy. It helps expand our economy, and it's more sustainable. Using rail, especially the way they have rail today, is much more sustainable than historic rail. And of course, we've designed a lot of these things that are being used in other countries, and I want to make sure we can take advantage of the electronic rail and those kinds of things, more of those things here in this country.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see some of it. Connecticut has a pretty good rail system, but there's always room for growth. In Trains magazine about 5 years ago, Brian Solomon, who is a rail consultant internationally, basically compared Jersey and Belgium. And his comparison was that actually New Jersey has a higher population, slightly bigger, but Belgium has like 1/3 more rail, and Belgium is considering building a brand new another main line. Like, I don't know, I don't remember the exact details of the article, but it's it's pretty amazing to realize how much they're using, how much Jersey Transit has done to expand stuff, and yet how far just plain behind we are. Mm-hmm. I mean, you want to complain about Amtrak? Yeah, the little factoid about Amtrak and the Northeast Corridor is, south of Washington, across the Great Swamp in Rhode Island, and by Canton, Mass. You can make time. You can get some real speed. But in Connecticut, how do you go very fast when you're going in circles? From New Haven to Boston, the railroad goes around itself 9 times. Oh my. And nowhere is it more obvious than really right at Rocky Neck or New London. At Rocky Neck, you can see the train kind of come around the curve, go around behind you along the trail, and then go all the way out to Millstone Point and go around again. In New London, just look at it from the Fort Griswold area where the bridge is. As it comes to the station, it's curving. As it leaves the station, it goes up around the curve to the bridge, and then when it gets over the bridge to Groton, it curves again the other way. So it's like trying to do 70 down through the S curves on 32, and you get the idea.
Exactly.
You can't. You can't do it very often, or you're in trouble.
Can't do it very safely.
Yeah. Well, you definitely can't do it safely.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Those are very excellent points, and I had no idea any of those.
Well, that's why they should rebuild the airline, but that's all different.
Well, no. I mean, it's always up for discussion. I think these are things we need to talk about.
If you're going to build high-speed rail, you're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, we're coming up on our break. We get the word from Matt Rupar, our producer, that it's time for our halftime break. So we'll be back soon with our very special guest, Ray Axelrod from the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest this evening, Ray Axelrod from the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum. And we are here talking about the fabulous days that are coming up to help celebrate the Railroad Museum. And let's go into the dates. Ray, please.
The date, again, is Saturday, August 30, from 11 to 3 at the Railroad Museum. Come on down. Enjoy the Garden Railroad, train rides, spend your money, do tours. We'll have work demonstrations. We'll have pump car rides. And guess what? Like every museum around the country, museum or volunteer organizations, we need volunteers. So if you can write grants, guess what? We need you.
All right, that's
okay,
good.
So it's one day. It's always one day. It's, Railroad Day.
Unless we grow and it grows majorly, it's going to probably stay there. And Matt is rich, so he could sponsor. He could sponsor a 3-day fest.
I have a couple of questions. One is that Susan mentioned how she's fascinated by the Roundhouse. I'm in that club. I am fascinated by the Roundhouse. Will there be a demonstration of the Roundhouse and how it operates?
Well, there'll be a demonstration of the turntable.
The turntable.
You might have something moving in and out of the Roundhouse.
Right. That's what I mean.
Basically, with the turntable, the Roundhouse is a glorified garage for locomotives and equipment.
Sure.
So we could probably run it for profit if you open Joe's Garage next to the.
But isn't it also a way to turn
the
train around in the other direction?
Well, the turntable. You're able to turn things around in the other direction.
Right.
And that thing is so well balanced, it can start going in the wind. So that's why we tie it down when we're not using it.
Our Roundhouse is still in use by railroads.
Minimally.
What do they do to turn the trains around?
Usually they don't have to.
They just put them in reverse.
Put them in reverse. I mean, you can run a diesel locomotive. You can run long hood forward, short hood forward. What New England Central does is they usually come down with 2 locomotives. They just run them around at the end when they get down to London. Latch on, head north.
Okay, so that's how they do it now. See that? It always helps to have somebody in the room who's ignorant to ask the good questions.
When people are swearing at New England Central at Bridge Street, And it's like, why is the train going back and forth, back and forth? Well, actually, down in the yard, they're doing what's called doubling. They're picking up cars and making up the train. Because the railroad has to, since it is on track, it can only shuffle back and forth.
Right.
That's their way. They can't go sideways. And also, for those people who like to go like under the train when it stopped at Ridge Street, don't. Or, well, you may have it. That may be a short time hobby.
It may not be a good idea.
Yeah, it's deadly.
Okay, the other question I had that's related to something you said before. You talked about the airline, and nobody's ever actually told me what an airline is. I figured because it's an airline, because it's a straight line. It's a line that it's a line that you said. In other words, you need a straight line in order to really accelerate speed.
I'm gonna have fun with Dennis right here. An airline is United is an airline, American is an airline, Lufthansa is an airline. They fly like this.
Right.
Airline in railroad term is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
airline is an approximate or straighter line. Yep. So the airline was built in the 1869-71 era.
In the twilight.
And that was actually before the bridges were completed at the Connecticut River and at New London.
Yep.
So for a while it had its heyday because it was an inland route that was contiguous, whereas the other line you either had to take a ferry to get across, or you, like the Norwich and Worcester line, and originally at Stonington, you met a steamboat, and they still had steamboats, some steamboat service like out to Fall River and stuff. Even in the 1900s.
Sure.
So, but once the bridges were done, the shoreline became the much preferred route because it had more freight. The New Haven controlled all of it. They didn't take over the competition called the New York and New England, which came down through, which basically from Willimantic to Boston, Willimantic to Providence, and had Hartford, Providence, and Fishkill was the line to the Poughkeepsie Bridge, but not over. Actually went to Beacon, New York, and then hit a ferry. Things were transferred to a ferry. The Central New England built the Poughkeepsie Bridge, and once they were taken over for the Poughkeepsie Bridge because that completed a rail route for the New Haven. The New Haven also had all the tugboats, or what they used to call railroad navies, around New York City till about the 70s, early 80s. The Lehigh Valley had a navy, the New York Central had a navy, the New Haven, the Jersey Central, and the Pennsylvania, I think, and the B&O, because the B&O came in on the Jersey Central, and there may have been a couple of others. Now there's one railroad service that basically goes from New Jersey over to Long Island as a ferry.
If you were to institute an airline today, what would you recommend as the route? How difficult would it be?
It's not easy. Amtrak actually did a study. If you want to talk true high-speed rail, let's not talk about California because that's just a boondoggle that keeps doubling in price about every 5-10 years and goes slow. But if you look at Brightline in Florida, Brightline was built, basically it's privately owned and privately operated because the Florida East Coast helped develop Florida originally, so they were the original railroad. They used to go down to the sea, called Key West.
Right.
Which is now Route 1 south of Homestead, Florida. That's a long story which we're not telling today anyway. But Brightline still hasn't turned a profit, but they've built good ridership. They connect to the airport. They connect, they're really doing something. They're also looking at building a line to Las Vegas. So keep looking for that. But Connecticut, Amtrak did a study about 8 to 10 years ago, there were meetings, and people were pissed in East Lyme because they were talking about building a tunnel under East Lyme. And people were pissed in Storrs because they might build a tunnel under Yukon. So they looked at a few different routings and different things. The thing is, if you were truly going high-speed rail like the Shinkansen or German National Railways or French National Railways, you're talking speeds of 180 to 225 as average speeds. So let's think about it. You probably need to go up on bridge work to do grade separation between cars and people and the train.
Sure.
You need to go straight as hell as much as you can. Curve it, whatever's a moderate curve on a line today, you need so much more moderate, because you're not going to build, your inclines are going to be minimal, your curvature is going to be minimal or very, very graduated out. I mean, the curve is going to be miles long, not within a mile, and you're just going to do so many things. For instance, in 1913, if you come on a walk I'm doing for Walktober, the walk at Lebanon, Columbia, at Lake Williams, that area, the New Haven in 1913 straightened out 1.5 miles of track. There's 65-foot fill that goes for a mile. The old line curved twice and went up a hill. The new line goes straight as an arrow, and that's just east of Route 207 to Leonard's Bridge. So if you did that there, think what else you would have to do to go. That was for 50 or 60 mile an hour railroad and growth potential. What were you going to do if you want to get the speeds well over 100? With the electrification, what Amtrak actually did in 93 was get rid of the switch from electric to diesel at New Haven, which actually it's funny because in steam days it took 12 minutes. With later improvements, we won't go into rail labor here too much because Susan will smack me. But anyway, by the 1970s and 80s, it took 20 to 25 minutes to make that changeover. So exactly why, we don't know. We'll leave it at that. And the other problem is, as I said earlier, all the New Haven line between New Haven and Boston, the line goes around itself 9 times. So with all those degrees of curvature, you're not going to improve the speed that much on that line. You can tweak a little, you can do things, you can do a little bit within your right-of-way, but your right-of-way is only so wide for the whole course of that. And if you had Metro North operating properly, you probably could increase speeds west of New Haven, because the outside tracks are your local tracks. They make the station stops. These inside tracks are supposed to be your express tracks. Could not Metro North could go faster, which would mean Amtrak could go faster west of New Haven. But anyway, that's a conversation for a different day.
Well, that's a great conversation.
That's incredibly interesting.
It really is. It puts us more into where we are.
We rode a train from Frankfurt to Cologne when we were in Germany, and it was high speed.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, let's go back in time, way back in history in the United States, and can you tell us when did we start using trains for transportation and for freight and whatnot? And it had to be 19th century at some point. Probably was not 18th.
No.
I
mean, 18th century, you could sort of claim railroads began in the 18th century if you're talking mining. With a couple of carts towed behind a horse or something.
Yeah.
But the original beginnings of the Baltimore and Ohio are like 1831, 32.
Right.
In Baltimore with the granite sleepers, meaning the ties were actually pieces of granite with rails strapped between them. And then the best friend to Charleston is about a year later. The Four River Railroad in I believe it's in Quincy, Mass, to a quarry and now mostly to the water plant in Boston, is very early. I can't tell you exactly what, somewhere between 1832 and 34. So that's your very beginnings.
My next question, was there government involvement in establishing the road beds, the tracks, where they're going to be, whatnot?
Which piece are we talking about?
Was it all, well, in any case, I mean, was it helter-skelter? Or was there planning?
Some were competitive and some were privately financed, but for the most part, like the finance in the Hoosac Tunnel ended up being mostly state bonds and stuff. It was like, you build the railroad from the west end to the tunnel, we'll help support with bonds the actual completion of the tunnel.
And who would supply the road bed? I mean, the rail bed?
Probably the private acquisition, but the state supplying the money for the tunnel.
Okay.
I mean, because the Hoosac Tunnel in Adams, Mass., for instance, that was first begun, it was dreamed of in the 1840s.
Yeah.
But they first tried digging like in 1854. The real tunnel work was like 1872, 77, or somewhere right in there. It's as the technology gained, and basically with building something like that, yes, you lost 193 lives, which pardon me, isn't that bad comparing the era and how workers' lives were treated.
Dangerous it was.
How dangerous it was.
Yeah, very dangerous.
But you improved equipment as you went along.
Yeah.
Because they were just learning how to use nitroglycerin.
Sure.
And different things. They had hydraulic drilling. They actually had 2 power plants, 4 work faces, because they had east and west, and then they dug a central shaft and were working there as well.
So having ridden on a high speed train once, and I don't know if that train we took through the tunnel, I don't think that was high speed. I somehow
possibly not.
Probably not.
Well, the train.
But anyway, the one we took from Frankfurt to Cologne, that's a pretty long distance, and we got there really fast.
How long was that?
I don't know. How long did it take us to get there? 2 hours?
I don't think it was that long.
It was probably less than 2 hours. It's well over 100 miles. I know that, way over. Or maybe 150, 170. I have to look it up.
I think it's about 100.
But anyway, to me, I have a real problem with fragmentation of government and how hard it is to get anything done when you have all these different little
levels,
little fiefdoms.
like Connecticut.
Yeah. Let's talk about Connecticut.
Well,
that's another show.
Other states have county government. Connecticut has.
I don't think county government.
169 little fiefdoms.
Yeah, I don't think county government.
That's right. Well,
county government might help in that regard.
It might.
I'm not a fan of county government.
Well, the cogs might help. But I just wanted to.
Let me finish my.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. Go
ahead.
Okay.
I'm wondering, is it because? And I think, and you would probably know this. There's you certainly would know a lot more about it than we do. There seems to be a lot of high-speed rail in, relatively speaking, in European countries, and I'm just wondering if they're better suited to do that because of their governmental structures. If you know, or if you have any if you would want to hypothesize about that.
Okay, well, just briefly.
Briefly, because we're going to talk about
Japan built high-speed rail in 1964. I've got the old National Geographic, so amazed. And actually, Claiborne Pell of Rhode Island, the senator, was looking at that and said in 1964-65 in a Railroad or Railfan magazine interview the term megalopolis and that we needed more transportation, which would be rail. And, well, we're still talking about it, but Pell had it all down in 1965. That's all I'm going to say. Go look up the article.
Yeah, that's a great article. I just wanted
to talk about his event
very quickly. I just wanted to mention the rail system between London and Paris. So you go under the ocean there.
And
Tom Cruise did that in one of the Mission Impossibles.
Yes. So I just wanted to check in and have you looked into that and the speed and so on and so forth? I mean, it took them time to do that, and it's great.
But let's think about 2 things. U.S. railroads geared up after World War II for large passenger volumes. The passengers didn't come. The railroads basically said, well, it's washed up. We're using the freight to subsidize the passenger. Bye-bye. We have one of the best freight systems in the world. but we have a lousy passenger system, sad to say. China, in the last 20 years, has built 40,000 miles of track.
Wow.
Into Vietnam, into Laos. They're doing high-speed rail all over Asia. Mm-hmm. Okay. So think about that as well.
You know what? It's food for thought.
And
I'm going to look into it. I'm going to study it. Your event.
Okay, my event, real fast. August 30th. Come down, see me. I can lecture you more on high-speed rail. From 11 to 3 at the Connecticut Eastern Rail Museum. We've got train rides, garden railroad, tours, work demonstrations, some food, pump car rides, and the play train. Come on down. We'll see you there. Toot toot.
You might see Dennis and Susan there too. And that Rupar, anyway, it's a Saturday, August 30th.